Venus entering Pisces on February 10th at 10:19 a.m. Eastern Time. So for context, we have on the 6th, Mercury entering Pisces, and then 4 days later, we have Venus entering Pisces, hot on its tail. Reminder, Mercury is the fastest moving planet outside of the moon, celestial body, luminary, and then Venus is next. The fact that Mercury is going to have a retrograde and Venus will not, will then put Mercury behind Venus again for a chunk of the year. So that happened at the end of last year. Whenever you have these different planets retrograding, it kind of throws off the order of who is getting where first and how quickly they're moving through the signs. So Mercury will fall back in the pack as the other planets are moving out ahead. Venus is the planet of love, peace. It's very aesthetics oriented. What is beautiful? And Pisces, we were talking about for the Mercury ingress. Pisces is highly intuitive. It's very connection focused. I think that it's kind of an interesting term to use for Pisces because in some ways it's very, very connected due to its intuitive nature. But then if there's too much connection, in other words, like the classic is it being such an empath, it's like connected to everybody and then it becomes overwhelming and then Pisces needs to run off and escape. So that's part of the low vibrational energy is being escapist. So the daydreaming that could happen is a way of escaping. But also just physically retreating. Like, I am overwhelmed. There's too many people here. I'm picking up on too much from them, whether or not you're aware of having an intuition. I gotta get out of here. That's classic Pisces. And then also just being very like artistic, creative in general. So one of a few signs that we have that's inherently creative. Now, unlike Mercury entering Pisces, which is in its detriment, it's in its fall, it's upset, it's dysfunctional, it feels lost. Venus is doing a jig because Venus is in its exaltation in Pisces. And that means that it's not at home, it's not one of the signs that it rules, but it's like amped up, like it's excited. It's like, I love these Pisces themes. This is great. Look at all the fun that we can have together. That's the energy of an exaltation. So even think about it like the terms that I just used. So for Pisces, it's like, it's about the connection with people. That's Venus. We always want to think about relationships. Aesthetics, beauty. If Pisces is a very creative sign, then Venus is on board. Like, let's beautify everything. And then it being very, peace, harmony, balance focused. Well, if Pisces is teetering on that line of too much incoming, it's unhappy. So with Venus there, it can help smooth things over, which feels really nice and supportive for that Piscean area of our chart. So this is really nice just in the backdrop of we already know that Mercury has entered the scene and we know that Mercury is going to be retrograding there. So our mind is going to be on its own journey of dysfunction, disarray, and at the same time, we are going to be having Venus moving through in a way that is supportive. So hopefully this will mitigate some of that, not all of it. And of course, it's very dependent upon your chart. But if we want a reference point for what Venus in Pisces energy looks like for us, you can refer back to January 2nd through February 4th of 2025. This go around, because it's not retrograding, it's just going to move through on a regular clip. It's going to be in Pisces from, as I mentioned, February 10th through March 6th. So approximately a month. So for Venus, on average, it's around 4 weeks. Sometimes it's 3. So we have around a month of, oh, this is so wonderful. Let me be creative. Let me be thinking about my relationships in this area. Let me try to smooth things out. This is really great to have in the backdrop as our mind is like in chaos. For some, not for everybody. So general expectations for this month-long transit are increase in creativity. So not creative thinking Mercury would be paying attention to that. But the desire, it's about our desire to be creative, thoroughly being present in the process of creation, whatever that is. Also could mean just more heightened compassion, being really sensitive and attending to other people's emotions. Again, we have our intuition being supported. So having a great read on people, being able to balance dynamics going on, that's super, super helpful. You may also just feel a little bit more tender. This could mean more emotional just because you're more sensitive, you're more empathetic and tuned in to what's going on with other people. Of course, that intuition getting in alignment with Venus moving through any sign is creating balance. So that intuition is coming into balance, it's being recalibrated. And then on the quote unquote lower vibrational side, you could just be more blissful. It's like the rose colored glasses of like, everything is great. And so it could be blissful, like ignorance. So you could be missing things because you're like riding the high and the joy of like, this is awesome. These things are great. And that's the part where if you have that energy going on, the low vibrational energy, plus what's going to be happening with Mercury, with it not enjoying itself and the retrograde, then that's like the double whammy. So this is why if you are paying attention to your natal placements, if you are looking at where both of these transits are happening in your chart, before we're there, because right now neither of these have happened, you can deploy some tactics to encourage the high vibrational energy rather than the low vibrational energy so they're functioning more optimally. 8th and 9th. So if we're talking about Venus moving through the 8th house, that is the mental health, transformation, death and rebirth, debt, inheritance, all that fun stuff. So what is nice about this is that Venus is super powered and charged moving through here, and it wants to create balance and calm. So the hope is that as Venus is moving through the 8th house section in Pisces, that you have a leveling out in whatever's been going on for you mental health wise, whatever's been going on as relates to money. Venus also has an association with our values and with money coming in. So Venus moving through this type of area is very, very supportive. It could mean that you have money that's incoming. That would be wonderful. And then as it moves into the 9th house, that's going to be supporting you learning and connecting to spirituality, especially because we have Pisces as well. It's very spiritual in the sense of it being connected, Jupiter ruled. That's very much the energy of the 9th house. So not that you would necessarily be getting more curious, because that would have to do more with the mind, Mercury, but that you would feel drawn to, open to, and just interested maybe in people that are from other countries or cultures or backgrounds, and just wanting to connect with them. And maybe that is being in a class, maybe that is a trip somewhere, or maybe that's just choosing to have some different interactions than you might normally, because your Venus is just like, oh, I love all people. I want to connect with all people, and I'd like to know them. And that could be a little bit of what's pushing that. Placidus. Pisces is 3rd with sun and moon. Yeah, so the other thing that you'd want to watch out for, you have your natal sun and moon there. And I mention this with everybody, if you have any natal placements when we're talking about these transits, you also can look up the specific dates when Venus conjoins each of them. So that would mean when Venus reaches the same exact degree point as the sun, and then the same exact degree point as the moon, because then it's going to activate that natal placement as well. So that becomes part of the storyline over the next month. So the next 4 or so weeks, you are going to have those 2 conjunctions on top of whatever's going on with the collective astrology. So those are days that you could look ahead at and circle on your calendar and see what is coming up for you. Venus in the 3rd house in general, it's looking to smooth out the communication. So making sure people are getting along, making sure that your language is nice, that it is sensitive to other people, whether that be writing or speech. You also could be looking, because third house represents siblings and neighborhood. So you also could be trying to connect with those people and wanting to nurture those relationships. And it also short distance travel. So it's like maybe you're doing like a day trip or something. And like you're feeling like really like compelled, interested in doing that. And on the days where you have the essentially natal Kazemi, but Venus Sun conjunction, then that is going to be activating like the life force energy. It's like also going to be like amping you up of feeling inspired, feeling really supported in the initiatives in this area of life, like ones that I just mentioned. And then when it goes over your moon, that's going to crank up the emotions, the extra sensitivity. So it's like something's happening, it's a TV commercial, crying at the drop of a hat because you're like, oh my God, that's so sweet. You could have a little bit of that going on. But it does relate to your intuition as well. So you have a couple points where it allows you to really pick up on a little bit more of what's going on around you and then calling that back into your sense of self. When we're talking about the moon, that's also thinking about what makes you feel safe. And so with Venus moving over that point in your chart, then it could be things that are bringing you peace or calm or supporting you, not grounding you because we're talking about a water sign, but that would be, nourishing that Pisces moon. Like what does it need to feel comfortable